Good morning, everyone. Uh, Today we will continue with the chapter The Enemy by Pearl S. Buck. Before we even start with the explanation and the reading part today, let us discuss uh, the story that we have covered till now. Let us discuss that. We already know we already know that Dr. Sadao is an eminent Japanese surgeon. He had acquired his degree from America. At America, he had even met uh, his wife Hana at an American professor's house. So somehow his entire life had been made there in America. His anatomy professor had also ensured that Sadao becomes the best of surgeons. Not just Sadao, all the students in the class, they become the best of surgeons. Sadao has earned a lot of name in Japan. After taking his degree, when he returned to Japan, he, he became a very famous surgeon, and he earned name and fame, so much so that the general of the army also trusts him. And for this reason, Sadao has not been sent with the troops. The Second World War is going on, and while Japanese army has gone to different places, but Sadao has not been sent with a team of doctors because the general trusts Sadao so much that he would not want to be treated by any other doctor. And for this reason, he has been detained in Japan. Everything was moving on smoothly for Sadao when one evening, while standing outside his house, he found an injured man who later turned out to be uh, an American soldier. Sadao immediately realized, when he saw the man injured, he immediately realized that he is an American. Saw the hat, the cap which he was wearing, that was, uh, he was a sailor from the US Navy. Sadao did not know what to do with this person. His wife Hana was also there, and together they discussed what can be done that is best for this person. Should they leave him to die? But Sadao has not been trained for for this. He is a doctor, and his duty is to save patients. Should they take him and cure him? But then that would be going against the country, and uh, and he did not want to be a traitor. And if he also did not want to inform the police about it, inform the authorities about it at that moment, because Sadao had realized that this man is in such a bad state, he is so badly injured that he knew that if he is handed over to the authorities, to the police, he will surely die. In any case, he will die, but then he will be treated badly also. So the best possible solution was to take him home, treat him first, and then hand him over to the police. And this is exactly what they would be telling the servants also. This is what they are focusing on, treating the patient and then handing him over to the police. So that Sadao as a doctor, Sadao as a human being, and Sadao as a Japanese is able to fulfill all his roles, all his responsibilities. But it was not an easy task. It wasn't easy because there were servants in the house who would not be happy with Sadao's decision, and they were actually not happy. When Hana asked the caretaker of the children, Yumi, to wash this man because this man was very dirty with all the sand uh, uh, and blood and all everything on his body. He was very dirty. She asked one of the servants, Yumi, to clean him, but Yumi bluntly refused. She said that I have never washed a white man and I will not do it. Sadao had decided to operate on this man because he knew if this operation is not performed, this man will not survive. That bullet which is there in his body has to be removed. Otherwise, infection will flare up. Now, since servants had refused, it was Hana who was asked to provide the anesthesia. Hana had never performed an operation. Hana had never seen an operation earlier. Was not a nurse, but Sadao still insisted. It was initially difficult for Hana, but later on She uh, she managed to do it. She asked Sadao what is to be done, and Sadao instructed that this anesthesia can be given on a piece of cotton. When she brought the cotton close to this man's nose, she realized that this man was a very young boy, and somehow she had a prayer for him that he would not have been tortured by the Japanese soldiers because he was a prisoner of war. He could have been tortured. She remembered all the atrocities that General Takima normally inflicted on people. This man was infamous for um, abusing his wife or physically abusing his wife. He could be uh, absolutely cruel with prisoners of war. So while she was just praying for it, she saw certain scars at the back of the ear. She questioned Sadao, but then Sadao was not listening. Okay. Yes, children, we need to continue reading. We need to continue reading. Sadao is to perform the operation now. Uh, we have to read from here, page number 34, last paragraph. Uh, is the chapter visible? No. I will just share the screen again for you people. And who is the next person to read? Who is supposed to be reading? Whose turn?
I
Yes,
guess
children,
it's
please.
me.
Huh? Please speak.
It's me, I guess.
Who is speaking?
I'm Nitin.
Your turn to speak. Open it. Please read. Please read. Nitin.
I'm from last paragraph. Those cars,
Yes, last paragraph of page 34. Let's start reading.
those cars, she murmured, lifting her eyes to Sadao, but he did not answer. At this moment, he felt the tip of his instrument strike against something hard, dangerously near the kidney. All thought left him. He felt only the first pleasure. He
Purest
probed
pleasure.
with his,
Purest pleasure.
sorry, ma'am, purest pleasure. He probed with his fingers, delicately, familiar with every atom of his human body.
Nitin, please
His
turn on
whole
your camera. Turn on your camera. And then
I'm waiting. It is mandatory.
yes, turn on your camera and then. Hmm. Yes, we are waiting, Nitin. Yes, please read. Continue reading.
His, all for his old American professor of anatomy had told him that knowledge, ignorance of human body, is the surgeon's cardinal concern. He had thundered at his classes year after year to operate without as complete knowledge of the body as if you have made it. Anything else, anything less than, than that is murder. It is not quite at the kidney, my friend, Sadao murmured. It was his habit to murmur to the patient when he forgot himself in an operation. My friend, he always called his patient and so now he did, forgetting that this was his enemy. Then quickly with the cleanest and most precise of uh, incisions, the bullet was
Incision.
out. Incision, the bullet was out. The man, qui- uh, no, what is this?
Quivered. The man
quivered,
quivered.
the man quivered, but he was still unconscious. Nevertheless, he muttered a few English words. Gust, guts, he muttered, choking. They got my guts. Sadao, Hannah cried sharply. Hush. Sadao said. The man sank again into silence, so profound that Sadao took up his wrist, hating the touch of it. Yes, there was still a pulse so faint, so feeble, but enough. If he wanted the man to live, to give hope. But certainly I do not want this man to live, he thought. No more anesthetic, he told Hannah. He turned us swiftly, and though he had never paused, and from his medicine he chose a small uh, vial and
While,
vial from it filled with the hypodermic and thrust it into patient's left arm. Then putting down the needle, he took the man's wrist again. The pulse under his finger fluttered once or twice and then grew stronger. This man will live in spite of all, he said to Hannah and sighed.
okay,
The
thank you,
young
Nitin. Thank you, Nitin. Let's have a discussion on this first. Okay. Hana is asking Sadao, but he is not asking right now. He is thinking about the patient only. He does not pay attention to what Hana was asking regarding the scars behind the ear. What do we come to know about Sadao's anatomy professor from this particular paragraph? What do we come to know?
That the professor was very specific and serious about what a person should know about the human body, as he mentions that uh, to operate a body without complete knowledge of it, it's directly a murder, indirectly a
Yes,
murder.
yes, he says he says it's a cardinal sin. It's a cardinal sin of a surgeon if he starts operating. Sin means something which is uh, not even pardoned by God. It's a murder, and he clearly says over here it is a murder if somebody operates, if a surgeon decides to operate on a patient without knowing the anatomy. Anatomy means the internal structure of the human body. So the American professor of anatomy had ensured that not just Sadao, but every uh, student of the class is aware of the anatomy, is aware of the internal structure. Because if he's going to perform an operation, he should know, a surgery, he should know where different organs are. So this is one thing that we come to know. Another example of contribution of Americans in Sadao's life. We have already seen about Professor Harley, where he had met Hannah, and Hannah has turned out to be such a dutiful wife. And now we get to know this anatomy professor. The anatomy professor had made sure that Sadao is, all other students, but especially Sadao, is aware of the anatomy, the internal structure. And this has resulted in Sadao becoming such a great surgeon, so much so that he's earned so much of fame in Japan. Okay, that is one thing that we get to know about American contribution in Sadao's life. Now look at the next paragraph. What does Sadao mean by this? Look at this line. It is not quite at the kidney, my friend. Whom is Sadao operating?
The wounded
The,
American sailor.
the American is his enemy. All the while we have been talking about that. So why is Sadao calling him his friend? Will someone else speak?
Because he's totally forgot that. Because he usually does that. He's so focused on his work that he has forgot that he was operating on an enemy.
Yes. Sadao always, he is in a habit of addressing his patients as his friend. And now, while operating on this enemy, he's forgotten about anything. He is only focusing, only concentrating on the patient. That is his primary concern. Whether he's an enemy or friend, all those thin lines have disappeared. And the person inside, the person in front of him is being addressed as my friend. He always calls his patient, and so now he is calling this man also, forgetting that this man in front of him is actually his enemy. Sada, we know, is a very skilled person. He has found the bullet which is to be removed. He has found it somewhere close to the kidney. Not exactly, otherwise it would have been very detrimental. Had it injured the kidney, it would have been very detrimental, but thankfully it has not. Sadao now makes an incision, removes the bullet. It must have been very painful. Though Hana is giving the anesthesia, but then still removing the bullet, pulling it out, that already must have started with some infection. It was painful. So even in his unconsciousness, the patient shouted. He muttered something, but there was nothing to worry. And after speaking of muttering a sentence, the patient just kept quiet. What did Sadao think at that moment? The patient was so silent at that time. The enemy was so silent. What was the idea that came to Sadao? What would have happened to him? Yes. What did he think? Sitting here, uh, Sadao took up his wrist and hating to touch away. Why did he take up the wrist?
Now to check the pulse.
To check the pulse. What would have happened? He hated because he was the enemy. But he also hated because he was fearing, he was scared. What could have happened to this man? Is he alive or is he dead? In
He's
both the
alive.
cases, whether he is alive, whether he is dead, the enemy is a nuisance, a menace for him, a trouble for him. But he was scared. This man could have died. Thankfully, he has not. There is still a very feeble pulse which can be felt, which Sadao tried to make better by giving him um, an injection, and the work was so done so swiftly. All the while, children, you have to note how quickly and how without wasting any time, how desperately are Sadao and Hana working, ensuring that no harm is done to this enemy. Although they are calling him the enemy, but still they are not leaving any stone unturned to bring, bring him back to life and to save him. So the injection was given and gradually the pulse improved. So Sadao is now confident that this man is going to live in spite of all the difficulties. The bullet shot, the rock injury, and now this operation. This man has enough of vitality, enough of strength, and he is going to survive. Okay, children, any questions, any doubts from your side? Any one of you?
No, ma'am.
Should we
No,
proceed then? Should we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
yes,
Okay. So whose turn is it to read after Nitin? Whose turn? Is it Nirmas?
Yes, ma'am. I think so.
Nirmas, will you turn on your camera and read? Is it possible for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please read and turn on your camera.
This man will live in spite of all, he said to Hannah and sighed. The young man spoke so weak, his blue eyes so terrified when he perceived where he was, that Hannah felt compelled to apologize.
Apologize.
She herself served him, for none of the servants would enter the room. When she came in the first time, she saw him summon his small strength to be prepared for some fearful thing. Don't be afraid, she begged him softly. How come you speak English? He gasped. I saw a long time in America. I was a long time in America, she replied. She saw that he wanted to reply to that, but he could not, and so she knelt and fed him gently from the porcelain spoon. He ate unwillingly, but still he ate. Now you will soon be strong, she said, not liking him, and yet moved to comfort him. He did not answer. When Sadao came in the third day after the operation, he found the young man sitting up, his face bloodless with effort. Lie down, Sadao cried. Do you want to die? He forced the man down gently and strongly and examined the wound. You may kill yourself if you do this sort of thing, he scolded. What are you going to do with me? The boy muttered. He looked just now barely 17. Are you going to hand me over? For a moment, Sadao did not answer. He finished his examination and then pulled the silk quilt over the man. I do not know myself what I shall do with you, he said. I ought, of course, to give you to the police. You are a prisoner of war. No, do not tell me anything. He put up his hand as he saw the young man was about to speak. Do not even tell me your name unless I ask it. They looked at each other for a moment, and then the young man closed his eyes and turned his face to the wall. Okay, he whispered, his mouth a bitter line. Outside the door, Hannah was waiting for Sadao. He saw at once that she was in trouble. Sadao, Yumi tells me the servants feel they cannot stay if we hide this man here anymore, she said. She tells me that they are saying that you and I were so long in America that we have forgotten to think of our own country first. They think we like Americans. It's not true, Sadao said harshly. Americans are our enemies, and but I have been trained not to let a man die if I can help it. The servants cannot understand that, she said anxiously. No,
Anxiously.
he agreed. Neither seemed.
Okay, okay, Niyamas, we'll be stopping here and we will first have the explanation of this part. Thank you. So we have seen that the operation has been done, and now and as Sadao was confident, this man will survive, and that is what has happened. He has been saved with the operation. The operation has been successful. Uh, why was Hana compelled to apologize when she came to his room after he came back to senses? Why was she compelled to apologize? What is she saying sorry for? Though she did not say, but why did she feel that she should apologize? Any idea?
Mom, because she outbursted in the room and he felt terrified.
So she saw, yes, yeah. He saw the fear on his face, not fear, terror on his face. Now, this man opens his eyes and then enters a Japanese. He's an American. A Japanese woman enters. Obviously, he will be terrified. Japan and America are enemy nations. They are warring nations at present. And so he was wondering where he was. He could still be in a prison hospital, you can say. He could still be this lady who's entered could be a nurse, just nursing him. So he was terrified. And when Hannah saw this terror on his face, she felt so sorry for him and wanted to apologize. Obviously, she did not. Uh, why it is written here that Hannah had prepared food and she gave him the food. It's written here. She fed him gently. It's written here. So why did Hannah do that? They are well-off people. They have servants in the house. Why didn't she ask any of the servants to do this?
Mom, because the servants were not willing to do it, as they thought that that person was an enemy.
The servants had already made it clear earlier that this is not the correct thing that the master is doing. Yumi had bluntly refused also. We have read all this. And so Hannah knew that the servants would not do it. So she herself prepared food and had brought it for this man. When she saw, is there a message from someone? Just let me check. I think there's a message from someone. Okay, Shreya has written because they hate him to the core, but then also they are helping him as if yes, very good. Now, when Hannah saw the fear, the terror on his face, she said that don't worry, don't be afraid. This was a very surprising thing for the American soldier. A Japanese is speaking in English, and how could Hannah speak in English? How could she speak in English? From where had she learned English?
Mom, because she's been in America for a long time when she was young.
Yes, it's written here that I was in a long time in America. We all know that Sadao had met Hannah in America only. Yes, in case you're not speaking, you can write the messages as shares in the chat box. Tried. She did not like this man. The man was his enemy. Uh, all Americans were their enemy. They were very clear about it. Yet she went on to comfort him, to give him food, and even look at Sadao. Why was Sadao angry with this man when Sadao entered the third day in the room, the third day after the operation? Why was Sadao angry with this person?
Mom, because of course the person was weak as he had had a surgery
So
and
what is he doing? What is he doing?
he's trying to move his body.
Yes, the man was trying to move his body, lift it a little, and Sadao was angry. He said, "Lie down. Do you want to die?" Now, this is a very ironical statement here. This statement is very ironical. Do you want to die? In any case, Sadao has planned his death. Sadao, we all know that after this man has recovered, Sadao is going to hand him over to the authorities. So, in any case, this man will die. But still, the subconscious mind of Sadao is still considering him to be a patient, and he does not want any harm to come to his patient. So, do you want to die? And then in uh, the same place, he says that you may kill yourself if you do this sort of thing. To kill yourself, in any case, he's going to be killed only. And the boy was the young man. The young enemy was confused. He said, "What are you? What are your plans?" Sadao still himself doesn't know what the plans are. And while he says, "I don't know, but I have to tell the police." And while he's saying this, he still pulled the silk quilt over the man. So the unconscious, the mind just behaves as a doctor, as a human being. The man is ill, the quilt should be covered. He could have left this man also after the operation. But then Sadao is not doing it. He is ensuring that the man recovers well. But side by side, he doesn't know. He is, as we know, is in a confused state. He doesn't know what is he actually going to do with this man. His idea is clear that he will hand him over to the police. But when, what is the police going to do? How is he going to implement all this? He is not very clear. Then he left the room, but outside Hana was waiting with another news. Obviously, children, this sheltering an enemy is a path full of obstacles. How can they shelter an enemy? If Even if they don't let the world know, the servants in the house know about it, and the servants have made it clear. What does Yumi say? What message has Yumi conveyed to Hana? Any one of you? Not Jia, someone else to speak now? What message has Yumi conveyed to Hana? What will the servants do? Please speak. Not Jia. Jia has given plenty of answers. Someone else to speak now? Any one of you children? Wrinkle? Asmit, you speak.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
What message has Yumi conveyed?
ma'am, can you repeat the question?
My question is, what message has Yumi conveyed to Hana? What will the servants do if this enemy continues to stay in the house? What will
Ma'am,
the servants do?
ma'am, the servants feel that they cannot stay in the house anymore because their masters are guarding an American.
The servants are giving you can say threatening, giving an ultimatum. He said Yumi conveyed the sentiments of all the other servants also. She says that if this man stays here, we cannot. The servants are planning to leave. This is what Yumi had conveyed, and this is what Hana conveyed to Sadao. The servants feel they cannot stay if we hide this man anymore. This message was conveyed. But look at Sadao once again. He is not being enemy. He knows he's the trouble for them. But still, he also is aware that if this man is let out, if this man is handed to the authorities now, at this moment, still he is very weak and it is not good for him. So the servants were of the opinion that since Hana and Sadao have stayed for so long in America, and so they've forgotten that they are Japanese and they are caring more for Americans. But actually, that is not true. Sadao says that, and even we as readers know that that is not the right thing to point out for this couple, for Sadao and Hana. Okay, children, any questions? Any questions now regarding this part? How
No,
many
ma'am.
servants are there in the house? How many servants are there? Anyone? Shivam? How many servants are there in the house? Please speak, Shivam. Or anyone else who wishes to speak?
I think two. I'm the old gardener and Yumi.
There are three servants. We will meet the third servant also. In the next part, we are going to read about the third servant as well and her views about Sadao's action. So let's read further. After Nimus, who has to read?
I'm Navneet.
Navneet? Navneet, will it be possible for you to read?
Yes,
Navneet, please
ma'am.
speak. Okay, Navneet, you'll have to
Yes,
turn on your camera.
ma'am. Neither seemed able to say more, and somehow the household dragged on. The
Turn on the
servants'
camera,
dinner
I
was
said.
so
Navneet,
The courtesy was careful as ever, but their eyes were cold away from the employer to whom they were hired. It is clear what our master's out to do, the old gardener said one morning. He had worked with flowers all his life and had been a specialist too in moss. For Sadao's father, he had made one of the finest moss gardens in Japan, sweeping the bright green carpet constantly so that not a leaf on pine needle marred the velvet of its surface.
March, March.
My old master's son knows very well what he ought to do. He knew said, pinching a bird from a bush as he spoke. When the man was so near death, why did he not let him bleed? That young master is so proud of his skill to save life that he saves in any life. The cook said
Contemptuously.
contemptuously. She split,
Repeat it,
yes, ma'am. Split a
contemptuously.
false neck. Contemptuously, she split a false neck skillfully and the fluttering bird and let its blood flow into the roots of a wisteria vine. Blood is the best fertilizer, and the old gardener would not let her waste a drop of it. It is the children of whom we must think, Yumi said sadly. What will be their faith if their fathers is condemned as a traitor? They try to hide what they said from the ears of the hen. She stood arranging the day's flower in the veranda nearby, and she knew they spoke on purpose that she might hear. They were right, she knew to in a most of her bringing, but there was an of her which herself could not understand. It's sentimental, she herself could not understand. It
It
was
was
the
love,
liking of the
not
prisoner. She
sentimental
had
liking.
come to think of him as a prisoner. She had not liked him even yesterday when he had said in the impulsive way, anyway, let me tell you that my name is Tom. She had only bowed her little distant bow.
Bowed her little.
She was hurt in his eyes, but she did not wish to
Assuage it.
assuage indeed he was a great trouble in the house. As for Sunday, he examined the wound carefully. The last stitches had pulled out this morning, and the young man would in a fortnight be nearly as well as ever. Sadao went back to his office and carefully typed a letter to the chief of police reporting the matter. On the 21st day of February, an escaped prisoner was washed up on the shore in front of my house. So far, he typed and then he opened a secret drawer of his desk and put the unfinished report into it.
Okay, thank you,
On the
Navneet.
second day after
Thank
that,
you, Navneet. We will have to stop here. Let us finish with the explanation of this part. Now, what is the attitude of the servants? Please let's discuss this. Are they doing their work?
They are doing their work, but they are too patriotic to accept the enemy being guarded by their master.
They are doing their work with utmost sincerity. Look at the way the gardener is working. He was a specialist in moss garden. He had made a wonderful garden for Sadao's father also. And right now also, even while he is criticizing his master for his decision of sheltering the enemy, at that point of time also he is ensuring that no loss is done. Every bit of resource is used for this garden. So the servants are very loyal. Otherwise, they could have let out the secret also to somebody. They have not done that. Their only concern is, as Gia said, that they are very patriotic. What does the gardener think? Why is Sadao doing it?
Mom, because he could not, mom, because of his talent, because of his profession to
Yes,
save
the,
lives.
the gardener said, I don't know why the master allowed this man inside the house, because this man was almost on the deathbed, so he could have allowed him to die. But the cook has a different view. The cook is the third servant. She is also doing her work very sincerely. Look at the way not a single drop of blood is lost, because blood is a good fertilizer for wisteria wine. So they are doing their work in a very honest manner, sincere manner. But the cook feels that the master is so proud of his skills that he feels that he can save every life. And deliberately, these people, the servants, speak loudly in front of Hana, so that Hana listens to them. Hana hears them and gets the message. Their aim is to make their masters aware that they are doing something wrong. So all the criticism that is done openly, deliberately. But at the same time, the servants are very loyal, very faithful to their master. So we will have to stop here, children, because time is over for this class. We'll have to stop here. Um, we will be continuing in the next class today, the second class that we have today. We will be continuing with the lesson. In the meanwhile, let me take the attendance. Uh, I know I had said that I will just let me note down who is not here.